Welcome back to another episode of the Graveyard Shift. On today's episode, we are taking a rare dive into the world of soccer, discussing the 2026 FIFA World Cup. I am your host, Trey Pope, and I am joined today by special guest panelist and soccer superfan, Jacob Parker. Jacob,
Yo, what's
welcome
up?
to V89 Sports.
What's up, Trey? I'm happy to be here.
Of course, of course. Kicking it off, we're going to do a little recap of the group stage, diving right in with Group A. Mexico, they've won their group, 3 wins, not a single goal against the side allowed. South Africa has clinched second place, with both teams moving on to the round of 32. I know Mexico had a relatively easy group, but with a 3-0 record and a +6 goal differential, has Mexico exceeded expectations so far, in your opinion?
Not really. I think if you really watch the games and you don't just like look at it, I mean, South Africa is a good team, obviously, and South Korea is too, but I think it's kind of a paper tiger performances because South Africa got two red cards. One of them was with 10 minutes, 15 minutes left, but one of them was like right after halftime. They had a whole half, and then they just kind of coasted, didn't really do anything. I didn't think they showed their quality really in that game like they could have. And then against that South Korean team, I mean, yeah, they played well, but Sun Heung-min's aging, right? He's playing at LAFC now. Kim and Jay, their star center back, got that big money move to Bayern, and he's just kind of been quiet, not really getting much play time there. So I kind of think Mexico's playing as I expected. I just think the 3 wins, plus 6 goal differentials kind of looks better than it really is,
Yeah,
against
especially
those
when you
teams at
when you
least.
combine it with the home team atmosphere and the host country. It's
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
they're playing how they should.
They're
And
playing how they should. Nobody should be like, oh my God, Mexico's gonna, go to semis or anything.
yeah,
I think they're a good team. They can do a lot. They're a dangerous team because of home field advantage, but I don't think that they're overperforming by any measure.
yeah. And like South Korea, as of this, we were recording this on June 27th. South Korea ranked number 31 over number 54 South Africa, but is trailing in the standings. Korea at third place in Group A, waiting on the rest of the group stage to shake out to see if they've clinched into the second round. Have they been performing at a disappointing level for South Korean expectations?
Uh, I mean, they're always gonna have expectations. Everybody does. And I would say so, slightly below. And definitely below, I guess, what the FIFA rankings give them, because those are based off of past performances, past this, past that. But like I said earlier, with, their superstar, aging, moving to the MLS, not playing the same competition anymore, and the quiet year from Kim and Jay, it's kind of what I expected. I don't really think it's, you know, anything ridiculous. It's not like they're at the peak of their powers and they're getting fourth place in a group. I think if you've really watched the South Korea team and you know how they've been performing outside of just the national team, it's kind of expected at this point.
That makes sense. Moving on to Group B, Switzerland, Canada, and then Bosnia and Herzegovina. Switzerland, Canada, and then Bosnia and Herzegovina have all clinched a berth into the round of 32. I believe the first group to have all three teams clinch, with Switzerland leading the group outright with 7 points. And we were talking about this briefly before the show, but how much did these teams benefit by having Qatar in their group? Like a couple of these groups definitely have a fourth team that is far and away weaker than the rest of the three. Do I mean, I guess I could open this to a general discussion, but do those groups really benefit by having a team they could beat up on in the
Oh,
expanded tournament?
yeah, 100%. I mean, it's part of what comes with having an expanded tournament is those teams like Curacao and Haiti, even Panama to an extent, Tunisia, like those teams just kind of get battered a little bit. The other part of that is having like teams like Cabo Verde who come in and, advance to the knockouts, surprisingly. But I think like Group B had an advantage certainly playing a team like Qatar because not so much because of their quality, because I think there's a stigma around them of the fact that they only qualified last World Cup because of their they were hosting, right? So
for sure.
But this year they've been a much better team. You know, Akram Afif, their star player, is Asian Player of the Year 2 years in a row, I think. Uh, like they've built a lot more quality on that team and they've gotten a lot better. They qualified for the World Cup instead of just hosting it. So I think yes, but the biggest problem was not because of their quality, it was because I think they're like the most carded team in the tournament. You know, like two, three reds, four yellows, you know, beside it, not even including those reds. Like they lost players and they're playing 10 men, 9 men against teams. They lost 6-0 to Canada because they were playing with 9 men forever. You know, it's just I don't think it was because of the quality like it is with Haiti and Tunisia. It was just poor discipline, really.
As far as level on the field, may not be the worst in the tournament, but performance
Hmm.
wise, just an output have been kind of disappointing if you're a
Yeah.
Qatari fan.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
you argue that like coming into the tournament, you heard that Bosnia would be the first third place team to clinch? Would that be surprising? Is that like an advantage of Bosnia playing in the same group as Qatar?
I mean, that's not ridiculous. Bosnia's, yeah, it's one of the first World Cups they've qualified in a while, but I think 2014 was the last. But I mean, they've got some solid players all around. I wouldn't have been really surprised if you'd said that. You know, I filled out one of those ESPN, who do you think's gonna win each group, runners up, and who's gonna get third place, and
Be a
which
little
of those
bracket
teams are
challenge
gonna
essentially.
advance. Yeah, like and I mean, I had Bosnia advancing. I had no idea about the schedule, so I couldn't have told you whether they were gonna get through first or whatever. But you know, it makes sense to me. I would not have been that surprised at all.
Yeah, moving on to Group C, Brazil and Morocco coming in first and second place respectively in Group C at 7 points apiece. How far would you say Brazil is set to go in this World Cup? I feel like the national and international media have been saying that this is kind of a down generation for Brazil these last couple of World Cups. How far would you like, what would you say their ceiling is for the 2026 World Cup?
Well, as for the down generation, I think they're kind of trending on the way up, really, because the biggest concern with Brazil used to be like their goalkeepers have always been short up. Allison and Ederson, the two best goalkeepers in the world, and they have them both, you know. But I think their defense as a whole and maybe their midfield a little bit has been a worry. But with probably the best center back grouping in the world and okay fullbacks, you know, I think they're getting better and better. You know, Gabriel's really broken out for Arsenal at center back. Marquinhos and Eder Militao, really, really good center backs in their own right. Um, but like and Vinny Jr., he's getting better. Hopefully he can keep this form and go back to Real Madrid and demolish again like he did in 22, 23. So I think they're coming out of that little rut that you were talking about. And especially if they use Endrick. I think if Ancelotti puts away his disgust for who Endrick is as a person, I think Brazil can really, really go far because that kid is special. Like he is so special. And I hope Ancelotti can put away his ego and let that kid play because I think they can really go far with him. And also you got to think about Vinny's not really consistent as a player. Can he keep this form up for all 8 games of the tournament? I think he can, but will he? And also Cunha. I mean, dude's really doing well, and I think he can keep up as well. So, you
Yeah,
know, it
when it
just
comes to
depends.
like marketing the Brazil team, Neymar Jr. is obviously one of the biggest stars in the world. How big of a factor would you say he is for Brazil at this stage in his career?
I think he's kind of on, you know, I think he's at the point in his career where he's kind of one of those role players for the team. I think he can have a very big impact, even if he doesn't play, by just being there for the players and being there for them when they need. I mean, he's, you know, one of the older guys in the locker room now. He's one of the most experienced players in the world. Still really, really good, you know, when he's healthy. So when he is and he comes on for 30, 45 minutes and he's able to do really, really well, like he was able to do against Scotland, create several big chances. I mean, I think he can be a super sub for them and even start a game if their depth gets thin. Because I mean, Rafinha got injured, you know, and Brazilians aren't known as the most durable players. So if one or two more get injured, he can definitely do bits as a starter.
Alrighty, also in Group C, Morocco. And Morocco, back in 2022, in that edition of the World Cup, went on a little bit of a run. And now that they've advanced to the round of 32 knockouts again, have they cemented themselves as a proper footballing nation on like the international stage? Like, are they? I'm not going to say perennial contender, but definitely a team to watch out for in every international tournament.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I mean, there's a whole AFCON fiasco recently, but they're still a really, really good team, even if they lost to Senegal or whatever happened there. They're still a really, really good team. Getting to the semis of the World Cup is no joke. Like, bad teams don't do that. But they've always kind of had some football culture. I believe they won a group with England and Portugal back in '86 when the World Cup was in Mexico. Um, so I think now that they're doing better again,
A little bit of a resurgence.
yeah, I really think that they can keep this momentum going. And I think they're really building up their system, their footballing culture, and one of the most important things, expectation, right? Like as a
100%.
nation, expecting your team to do well, your team is always trying to live up to that expectation, and I think that can help them perform sometimes,
Yeah,
and
like a couple of
drive
those smaller countries like Curacao, Cabo Verde, despite the fact that Cabo Verde's success, like they're just happy to be here. And Morocco
exactly.
has higher expectations for themselves
Yeah.
as a result of their past successes.
hmm Yeah, yeah. Cabo Verde, they were just riding the high of tying Spain, and they really were able to push themselves to get through to the knockouts. But Curacao was just so happy to be there. They're just happy to be a part of the fun. Like, they didn't really have that push to get to the knockouts because nobody would have been mad at them if they didn't, right? Nobody's mad at them
Exactly.
now.
They've done the hard
Everybody
work.
loves
They've
them.
got to the World Cup.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
All right, moving on to Group D. The United States, our two teams, have won back-to-back matches in the World Cup for the first time since the very first one in 1930. And while they lost to Turkey in the 98th minute in match day 3 of the group stage, they started 2-0. Their berth to the round of 32 was already clinched. They're playing July 1st against Bosnia. Australia is also moving on, having clinched second place in Group D. So back to the U.S. Folarin Balogun has made his World Cup debut for the Stars and Stripes. He was not on the 2022 World Cup roster. He had not yet committed to a senior team. I think England and Nigeria were both fighting for him for their senior
hmm
rosters. But he's definitely made his presence known with a brace in his opening match against Paraguay. In your opinion, how much of a add is Balogun to the USA roster when comparing the 2022 World Cup roster to this year's?
Immensely important. Like he might be one of the most valuable players to their team in this entire tournament. I mean, for years, like the U.S. has played without an out and out nine, like an out and out like striker that's been able to get on the end of crosses, been able to, complete those build up plays and put the ball in the back of the net. Like we haven't had somebody like that since like a prime Clint Dempsey or Landon Donovan. And as much as I love guys like Josie Altidore and Ricardo Pepi, like those guys just weren't like clinical finishers on the highest level of, not saying Balogun's on this level, but like of Kane, of Lewandowski, of guys like that. We've never had somebody like that. And if Balogun continues to improve, I mean, he could be an absolute monster and take us to places we've never been before. He does so much and he allows us to be so much more of an attacking team, whereas we would always just try and hunker down and defend and then just hope to get a goal here and there. And it's like Johan Cruyff always said, it's you'd rather win a game 5-4 than 1-0, and I think Balogun allows us to get towards that.
Yeah, I specifically remember a lot of discourse about Ball in the 2022 World Cup with our old
Yeah.
head coach, where I think we
Yeah.
went up 1-0 against England during the group stage and then just kind of parked the bus, tried to save that and win the game 1-0 after we went up in it fairly early in the first half and having more of an attacking front, replacing Timothy Weah with Folarin Balogun. That's like a huge add. And I believe when officially, like, I don't know if committed is the proper terminology in international soccer, but when he agreed to represent the USA on the international stage, he, I believe, was playing with Arsenal at the time, has now plays with Monaco in the French Ligue 1, but that's a perennial, and I'm not gonna say perennial, but a consistent UCL appearance team in
Yeah.
that French league, and he definitely has more of a impact on the club football scene compared to a lot of the other USA options in 2022. And so I feel like having a player with that sort of experience is very important to, like you said, putting the finishing touches on crosses from like the Christian Pulisic to Balogun connection in that Paraguay game was like awesome to
Electric.
watch as a U.S. soccer fan. Like I
Yeah,
believe the 2024 or World Cup or not World Cup, excuse me, Gold Cup. We had Balogun, but Pulisic sat out because of injury. Like there really has not been a large international tournament in which you could argue Pulisic and Balogun are the best players offensively for our team, and to have them
absolutely.
finally playing together at the same time is amazing to watch as a USA fan. It makes me makes me incredibly excited for the rest of the tournament. And so Australia, only scoring 2 goals, both in their tournament opener, are still advancing to the next round. Is
Hmm.
their success sustainable? And if not, what changes does their offense need to make in order to continue on advancing into the deeper rounds of the tournament?
I don't think it's sustainable. I mean, they play a even more defensive version of what Morocco did in 2022 with, and like no offense to the Australian team, but way less quality. You know, they don't have an Achraf Hakimi or Amrabat or Nusayr Mazraoui, or they don't really have any guys on that level at all. And they're playing, into that low block, letting other teams have possession and just trying to let the other teams break their low block, which is really hard. Like they're a decent team. They're at the World Cup. They're advancing for a reason. But I just don't think this success can go any further with them because their goal scoring is so like inconsistent. They can't score on a good team and a good defense, especially not a team with like fast center backs or anything like that, because their biggest thing is on the counterattack. Right? So if a team's even moderately prepared for that, they're just not going to score. Right? I really don't think that their success can reach any further. I would be surprised if they won more than one more game. I'd be surprised if they won one.
Not high hopes for Australia.
I,
Heading into Group E, Germany, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador are all advancing to the round of 32, with Ecuador advancing on a thrilling 2-1 upset over Germany during match day 3 for Group E. Headed into the tournament, Ecuador was rated fairly high from the soccer pundits on the national stage, but had a slow start. After their win against Germany, what do they have to do to continue their success? I mean, they definitely had their slow start. What did they do right against Germany that they should take away for the rest of the tournament?
s- so much. I mean, watching that Ecuador game was amazing. It's why they're one of my favorite teams. I mean, guys like Willie and Pacho who are absolutely locking down on defense, as well as their other center back Ordonez. And then Caicedo in the midfield, an absolute monster. Like he is just the little engine that could. Like he's like N'Golo Kante for Chelsea and Leicester. Um, like he absolutely locked down that midfield. He was on Musiala, Nemecha, Kimmich. Like he was locking down everybody. He was all over the field the whole time, and he was like absolutely the most important player in my opinion, and for that 2-1 comeback because they couldn't do anything against Germany couldn't do anything against that backbone of Ordonez, Pacho, and Caicedo. Like that defensive three is just so solid and so hard to get past. Like it's just insane.
Yeah, I got
And
people telling me that Caicedo and Pacho are the best in the world at their position, and that Ecuadorian defense is definitely a force to be reckoned with on the international stage.
yeah, I mean, yeah, they're one of my favorite teams just because like you said, Caicedo and Pacho, like Pacho playing for PSG, Champions League winners. He's one of the best center backs in the world, probably top five, top 10 for sure. Caicedo, I don't know if I can name three defensive midfielders better than him. Like he's absolutely insane. And for them to go in this tournament, they they really just need Enter Valencia to find some form in his old age, maybe have a good game here or there. They've got some good young talent up top that can help them score goals too, but having that leader like Enter Valencia, having that guy in particular score could help their momentum and help their confidence into these next few games and really take them far.
So if you're an Ecuadorian fan, you're just hoping that the offense kind of catches up with the defense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much. You just hope that they get a goal here or there because that defense is going to be so hard to score on.
Is Germany's loss to Ecuador concerning if you're a fan of the German national team? Is there any takeaways as a German fan that you'll be keeping an eye on through the
Uh,
rest of the tournament?
yeah, one thing was kind of concerning was Musiala. Now he came back from an injury this year, pretty bad injury. But he's been playing for a couple months, and his quality is for sure still there. He's one of the best attacking midfielders in the world, and he will be for a decade at least. But I just don't know if he has the proper match fitness. And for an 8 game tournament, and the games get closer and closer, I don't know if he's going to be able to play the next 5 games at full fitness. And, you know, you don't want to sub that guy out. He's so good. You really don't want to sub him out. It would be like Ecuador subbing out Caicedo. Like he is so good. Um, but another thing I'd be worried about as Germany, they're always known as like the physical team, right? And Ecuador kind of bullied them a little bit. Caicedo and just almost everybody on that Ecuadorian team was able to push around Germany quite a lot. And even Nagelsmann had to speak to it after the game. And he's basically just saying, like, I can't teach my players to be physical. That just doesn't happen overnight. Right. So that's something that's really worrying if I'm a Germany fan, but maybe their quality will shine through. I mean, they have so much
For
quality.
for US soccer fans, would you compare it to our loss against Turkey when we had a bunch of the younger guys in who were very clearly just getting pushed around by more experienced players? Like, was it a similar mismatch of physicality?
I think it was a similar mismatch of physicality, but not in the experience department. Uh,
Just a pure
l-
strength thing, essentially.
yeah, it
But
was just Ecuador wanted it. Germany kind of didn't really seem like they wanted it that much, and that could be another thing too. They could have just not cared. They could have just been sitting there like, man, we're through. I don't care if we win or lose. We're gonna play in the knockouts anyways. So, why waste all of our energy now?
yeah, that brings up an interesting discussion halfway through our group stage little recap here, where just the way that the qualification for the knockout bracket has worked. Me and you were sitting before this
Yeah.
show trying to figure out just exactly how the qualification works. We were looking at basically an Excel spreadsheet of 495 different combinations, trying to figure out every scenario in which X team will play Y team. And it's just the expanded tournament is obviously great for a lot of the underdog stories like Cabo Verde, but it's just trying to understand it as a fan is incredibly difficult with like I'm not necessarily assuming there's a better way, but other than expanding it further to have like a round of 64 or something like that, how else would or exactly changing the number of teams in the groups for the group stage, is there an easier way to set up a 48 team tournament in your opinion?
I don't know about a 48 team tournament, but there's ways to do it. Like, I mean, obviously going back to 32, which will never happen. That's
Yeah,
just
I
a
don't think
monetary,
any
that's just a
sports
monetary
organization in the
issue.
world go would decrease the amount of ticket sales.
Yeah. Yeah. And even then, like the only other thing that I could think of off the top of my head is like a 40 team World Cup with 8 groups of 5, and then they each play
Yeah.
4 group stage games, and then just the top 2 from each group, full stop, just top 2 go through. But really, for the 48 team format, it's just difficult. I mean, there's 12 groups. You can't just have 2 guys go through each group because at some point 24, 12, 6, 3, what are you gonna do? Like you can't just play
Exactly.
knockout from there on. So you're gonna have something complicated. Now maybe they can make the decision process a little less complicated by just saying, no matter what, I don't even know. It's just it's so weird. Just having it at 48 teams, I think it was just an odd number to choose, and I think the world
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest reasons why I think the 48 team format is just kind of lesser. It's given us some really cool moments, some really boring moments, and then just some really just confusing things looking at that Excel spreadsheet like
Yeah,
you
no, I've
said, just
definitely
seeing,
become
you know.
yeah. I've become more of a soccer fan since the 2022 World Cup. That was kind of my introduction to soccer on the global stage. And I don't seem to remember having meaningless group stage games for match day 3 versus like with the US versus Turkey. I mean, obviously the US has been fighting for behind for majority of their international soccer history, but I even for the teams that were 2-0, 6 points to start the 2022 group stage, I still remember them having a reason to want to win that third game. And I don't necessarily think that was the case this year with how qualification for the knockouts were working. And so that is like a little disappointing to see to have like meaningless games in the World Cup.
Hmm.
But again, it's a complicated scenario that is way above our pay grade to try and figure out how to
Yeah.
make that more entertaining.
Yeah.
Go back into the group stage recap. We got Group F with the Netherlands, Japan, Sweden all advancing from Group F, with the Netherlands scoring 10 goals, tied with Germany and France for the most in the tournament so far. And Germany and France are definitely viewed as two of the top teams in the tournament. Would you say that the Dutch are true contenders at that at that upper echelon of the international soccer teams?
I mean, yeah, there's no other way to go about it. If you don't think they're one of the top 8 teams in the world, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know who you're watching. I don't know if you're watching soccer at all or football. But yeah, I would say they're on a tier with Germany, kind of behind France and Spain, but they're definitely up there. And if you had told me a couple weeks ago Netherlands wins the World Cup, that wouldn't have been the most surprising thing that I could have heard. They really have such a good team I mean, they're insane defensive talent with Nathan Ake, Denzel Dumfries, and then the three center backs that they have, Van de Ven, Van Heck, and Van Dyke. The three Vans that they have, like it's insane. Like
Very
their
Dutch
defense is
names.
ridiculous. Yeah, their midfield's good with Tijani Reinders and De Jong and blanking on who Gravenberch, who's in the midfield, and then Gakpo and Brian Bobby being in form as they are right now, I could totally see this team, making a run for it. And I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah. Group G wrapping up tonight in very exciting fashion. Both those games running concurrently. Belgium beating New Zealand, I believe 5-1 was the final score. Looked like Iran was going to beat Egypt 2-1 in a late game stunner, but that goal, excuse me, ended up getting called back because of an offside by about half a foot and an elbow. Just a heartbreaking call if you're an Iranian fan there in Seattle. What are your thoughts on how Group G ended up? Was that just that's I feel like peak World Cup in my opinion when you got two games running concurrently, both with huge implications, and it's just chaotic when you got the broadcasters trying to tell you what's going on in two games at one time, all the scenarios. Just thoughts on Group G.
Yeah, I mean, electric. Yeah, as the World Cup is, it's part of why they call it the beautiful game. There's so many aspects to why it's so beautiful, and that's just one of them. Um,
I feel like
eh,
that's exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about how 2022 didn't seem to have meaningless group stage games. Like Group G, it came down to the wire for both of the final match days, or both of the final matches on match day three. And I wish to see more of that in every group. Like I wish every group ended in that sort of fashion.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's going to be more so difficult, and I think that actually the biggest reason for that of the increased amount of meaningless match days is the head-to-head. And I in previous World Cups there were kind of meaningless games, but they technically mattered because goal differential was the first tiebreaker. But you would see a team with +7 playing a team with, or that would be worried about a team with -4, right? Like
Yeah.
nobody's going to overcome that goal differential,
Theoretically possible if they
theoretically
win
possible.
11-0,
And I
but
think that's why they went to the head-to-head was to kind
functionally
of
the same thing.
yeah, it's a lot of it's the same thing. You're not really gonna find those teams overcoming insane goal differentials on the last day. And I mean head to head matters. Like they always say in college football, head to head matters,
Yeah.
right? Like I do think it's kind of cool
Win the
that they're
games.
implementing that, right? It makes you want to win the games. Yeah, exactly.
And it also like, I mean, as much as I hate to say that the U.S. played a meaningless game against Turkey, it was nice to have a game that you weren't worried about, see the younger guys play, because who knows depth wise later in the tournament if we're going to need those guys to have had real World Cup game reps. And it's also just nice for the younger guys to get that experience. The World Cup's only every 4 years, might as well throw them out on the field, see how they do, just give them
Hmm.
that experience, especially on home turf at like USA is hosting the World Cup. I
Yeah.
assume majority of those guys, if all goes well health-wise, are not going to be playing in the knockout games, or at least not until the later minutes. So it'll be nice for them to have majority of their World Cup time, like have a full game's worth of World Cup experience, and that's just
Yeah.
nice to see as a fan of sport. Moving on to
Yeah.
Group H, Spain and Cabo Verde have both advanced. And what a story for Cabo Verde. We've touched on that briefly earlier. Unbeaten through 3 games. Spain winning the group as expected with 7 points. Is Cabo Verde's success the biggest argument for an expanded World Cup for the 48 team uh, tournament? I mean, Cabo Verde has officially the smallest nation to make the knockout round in World Cup history. So
Yeah,
that means a lot.
third smallest nation to make the World Cup finals, or the World Cup tournament as we know it.
Exactly.
Uh, with 500,000 people, Curacao are the smallest, but Curaçao's eliminated, so of course they didn't make it to the knockouts. But yeah, I mean it's by far the biggest argument for the 48 team knockout. And I heard Landon Donovan touch on this at some point, right? You have these beautiful stories that can come about people overcoming adversity, teams overcoming adversity. Like, Vozinha, the Cabo Verde goalkeeper, is 40 years old. Their center back they got off LinkedIn, like
Yeah,
like
I saw that
it's an
story.
incredible story. I think it's absolutely amazing, and giving teams like that the chance to perform in the way that they did. 0-0 Spain against Spain, 2-2 against Uruguay, and then 0-0 against Saudi Arabia as well.
I believe so, yes.
Like, a really good defense, really, really compact. Awesome to see them able to, you know, go up toe to toe against two really good teams in Spain and Uruguay. And I know Uruguay got eliminated, but they still have quality all around. It's still a really good team. And it's
Uruguay is definitely
shocking.
one of those nations that's a proper footballing nation, as some people will put
Hmm.
it. They like beating Uruguay, regardless of if it's a down year for them. That is an accomplishment, especially for a smaller nation such as Cabo
Yes,
Verde.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And I think Cabo Verde is, not a single person in that country is sad right now watching their team do what they just did. They're playing their first knockout game ever in their first World Cup ever, and they haven't lost a match yet. They might not concede another goal against whoever they play and then go to penalties. Like they play Argentina, so it's very unlikely, but still, like that
Theoretically,
defense. That defense is insane. And, they might be able to score one like they did against Uruguay. That counterattack can be lethal against quality teams, right? So we'll
100%.
just have to see.
Yeah, an unlucky draw against the defending champs Argentina, but
Very
still
unlucky.
exciting. I mean, I believe that it's another example of just how international soccer is and how popular it is compared to what Americans think popular sports are. I believe their goalkeeper has gone from like 50,000 followers to upwards of 7 million or something like that. Like,
I think it might be over 10 at this point.
yeah, it's just an insane growth for him, and that's past all of the biggest American athletes like Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Judge. Like, I believe he's still behind Shohei Ohtani, but Shohei Ohtani is an international superstar. But when it comes
Yeah.
to just how big soccer is on the international stage, that's just another testament to relatively how isolated American sports fandom is. Moving on to Group
Mhm.
I, France and Norway have both advanced, clinching first and second place. France, seeking their third straight World Cup final appearance, is a heavy favorite to win the tournament. Mbappe is one of the best goal scorers in the world, as we saw in 2022. Does France have a better supporting cast for Mbappe than they did in 2022?
I mean, yeah, like there's no debate about that. I mean, every single part of the field's better. Whether you look at the midfield and they still have Rabiot, who's Rabiot, like he's the same guy as he was in 2022. That's why Didier Deschamps love him, is he's just so consistent. He's aged 4 years and he's not lost a step. He's the same exact guy that he was then. He's consistent from game to game, month to month, year to year. And then the having Olise at attacking midfielder like they did in the third game, great decision by the backup coaches, or maybe even Didier Deschamps himself. And he's better than I would say Griezmann was in 2022. And then Kone is in similar form to Tchouaméni was in 2022. Um, and then the attack is just so much improved. Like levels above. Dembele on the right wing, like they had in the third game. I talked to you about this, Trey, earlier today. Like Dembele playing on the right wing is just absolutely lethal. Like having him out, not in the number 10 position, not in the attacking midfield, having him outside, is just he's one of the best players in the world. He won the Ballon d'Or last year. There's a reason for it. He finally got his first major tournament goals for France. He's never scored one before in 17 matches, and he goes ahead and scores four in 2 games. He finally breaks that slump and just bags four in the span of 6 days. I think it's absolutely insane. And then Desiree Doué off the left. He's the next
The
Neymar.
chemistry with this French team is
Yeah,
unstoppable.
absolutely. And I mean Desiree Doué is like he plays like Neymar. He's so good. He's so creative. Finishing is great, dribbling is great, vision is insane, passing is really good. And then the defense is probably their most improved, and that's crazy to say after just thinking about that attack, right? Their defense is the most improved with like a Mike Maignan in goal is quite a bit better than Lloris was because Lloris was aging at the end of the World Cup, right? So he's playing better. I know he's had a slip up here and there, but Upamecano is playing better than he was in 2022. They added the second best center back in the world in William Saliba. Teo Hernandez is maybe taking a step back, but not by much. And then right back Jules Koundé, you know, that defense is just so good, and all around they're such a good team. Their depth is way better this year. Like it's by far the best team I think Mbappe's ever had around him. And I think that the biggest change, which was very minute, but I touched on it earlier, switching Olise from right wing to the attacking midfield and Dembele from the attacking midfield to right wing. I think they both feel more comfortable in those positions overall on average. I know Elise normally plays right wing for Bayern, but he's much more comfortable in the attacking midfield than Dembele, and I think that change made their link up play way better, the counterattack better, everything just smoothed out, and they look so good going into the knockouts.
You're a French fan, you watch your team lose to Argentina in 2022 in the final, and then coming back 2026, they've gotten better in every possible way. Mbappe himself has gotten four years older, 4 years more mature, advanced
hmm
as a soccer player. Is there any doubt in your mind that that France is not going to make their third straight final?
Well, I'm not a French fan, but if I were, I'm having no doubt. Like, yeah, Mbappe's 4 years older, but guess what? He's 27.
Exactly.
He's in
Still
he's in
very
his
much in his physical prime.
he's in the middle of his prime now. He was at the
Yeah.
beginning and now he's at the middle. Like he's probably the best player he will ever be. Maybe he gets slightly better from here on out. But if I'm a French fan, I might take a nap until the final and just wake up to watch that because why watch the other games? Like they are so good all around. They have some of the best players in the world at every single position. And I think they have the most underrated player in the world as Michael Olise. I think he doesn't get enough Ballon d'Or shouts as is, and I think he's one of the top assisters in this tournament so far, and he is so good, and he is one of the biggest reasons why France, I think, are going to win this tournament.
Yeah, Lionel Messi has broken the record for most amount of goals in the World Cup. Do you feel confident saying Mbappe will be passing him just in it during his career?
Yeah, like I have no doubt, dude. Next World Cup, he's going to be 31. The one after that, he's going to be 35. Messi's 39 right now, dude.
Yeah.
Mbappe's got three more World Cups and then he
Until he's
turns
Messi's
30
age.
yeah, and then he turns 39. Like he's
Yeah.
gonna pass it at some point. I don't think it'll be this World Cup because I think Messi might bag another couple more. And I really liked how the French team, like Dembele scored 3 goals today, and then Doué scored one. Right, that French team is so lethal all around that Mbappe doesn't have to score, and they'll still win by 4 or 3 like they did today. Right, so I don't think he's going to put the goal scoring burden on himself like he did in the last World Cup. So I don't think it's
Mhm.
going to happen this year, but it could very, very easily happen next World Cup or the next or the next.
Yeah. Mbappe is going to be a figure in international soccer for quite a while.
A long time. I just want to put this out there. I think the World Cup career record for goals scored could be 30 by the time.
That's insane.
Mbappe
Yeah. I mean,
retires.
I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just that's incredible. Like
Yeah. When I was born, I think it was 14. And by the time
Mbappe
I'm,
very much could more than double it.
yeah,
Like
close. They got to 16 in 2014, and yeah, I think Mbappe could get it to 30 at some point.
so also in Group I, Norway clinching second place with Erling Haaland making his World Cup debut. Norway failed to qualify for the 2022 edition of the tournament. How much of their appearance or qualification for 2022 can be attributed to Haaland as a reason for their success?
For 2026, uh, yeah, like a good 90%. I mean, he's just a goal scoring machine. He's created in a lab somewhere. He's one of the most ridiculous soccer players I've ever seen. I've watched soccer as long as I can remember, and I've never seen a guy play like that. He is the definition of a finisher. Like you just put a ball in the box, and he will get his foot to it. He'll get his head to it. He'll get his knee to it. He'll get anything to it to get it directed on goal and going in. Like he's just one of the most lethal finishers I think this game has ever produced. And he's a pressing machine when he wants to. We saw that in the game against Iraq. Like he pressed the goalkeeper, and then he was right in front of the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper just tried to kick it away, bounced off Holland and went in. Like that he gets goals that way too. It's not just from build-up play and from
Deflections.
crosses, right? It's just he's one of the most lethal players this game's ever seen, and I think he's a very, very large reason why they're in the World Cup, along with like Odegaard and Newsom, some other players too. But if they don't have him, they're not even sniffing the World Cup.
So, furthermore, how would you say his appearances for the team will affect Norway's chances of advancing past the round of 32 into the round of 16 and further? Like, does Norway have a good chance with Holland at striker?
I mean, depends on what you're saying. They're gonna have a chance um, at advancing this past this next round. I believe they play the Ivory Coast. I think they have a good chance to win that game. I mean, Holland could score two. He could score three whenever he wants. If he wakes up on the right side of the bed, he could score more than a hat trick. So I think they have a really good chance of going past this round of the knockouts. And yeah, Holland can bring him there like so easily.
And that wraps up the group stage games that have already happened. Group J, K, and L will wrap up in about 12 hours as of this recording. Argentina in Group J has won their group already, clinched they're the only one of J, K, and L who have clinched their first place, winning their group. They're looking to defend their title. Messi with a hat trick in Argentina's first game and has continued to be an unstoppable force for the defending champs. At 38 years old, could Messi slow down over the course of this tournament? And if not, would he slow down for the 2028 Copa America? Or when does Messi like, I believe he was talking about retiring from international football all the way back in 2016, and yet he's still performing at this high level internationally. When does that slow down? Ronaldo's 41. Are you going to give Messi until he's 41, 42 to finally hang up the boots?
Yeah, so as for this tournament, like you're saying, I mean, I think Messi might slow down a little bit, right? It's 8 games across just a couple weeks against some very physical teams, some very good teams. I think he could slow down a little bit towards the end of the tournament, but maybe not. I mean, he is what 30, 39,
I believe he's currently 38, if I'm not mistaken.
38. So yeah, like he might slow down a little bit towards the end of this tournament, but him slowed down is still one of the best chance creators this game has ever seen. Like he could still do so much for the Argentinian team with Julian Alvarez and Lautaro Martinez up top and Nico Paz on the bench. Um, like he could still do so much for that team. And I think if he slows down, he's still one of the best players in the world. And as for future tournaments, I think it would be very hard to get him to play in another one if they win this World Cup. But if they don't, he might continue to play. If they win this World Cup, it's the greatest stretch in any international team's ever gone on. They went Copa America, World Cup, Copa America, and if they win another World Cup, nobody's ever done that.
I mean, that's the
Nobody's ever
biggest
won
trophies you can get in a 10-year span, right?
in a less in a 6 year span or whatever. Like that this nobody's ever done that before. The
Yeah.
closest anybody's ever been is Spain with the Euros in '08 and then the World Cup in 10 and the Euros again in 12. If another World Cup. That's the greatest stretch. I mean, why not cap it off? Why not cap it off there? Just retire after that. But if they don't win, maybe he plays another couple international tournaments. But I mean, at some point, you just got to let the legacy speak for itself. And I think he might retire from international football pretty soon.
I would imagine. Group K tomorrow. Colombia and Portugal have already clinched a berth into the round of 32, but they play tomorrow for first place. Who do you got winning Group K tomorrow at 7:30 p.m.?
I think this Portugal team is picking up some steam. I think Vitinha and Janeves and Bruno Fernandes are learning how to play together. I think they're three of the most ball dominant, midfielders in the world. So there's going to be some ironing out that you're going to have to do when they start playing together. And I think they're kind of having to learn how to do that, especially after the shock upset against DR Congo. I think Vitinha and Jean Neves just passed it between each other a lot and near the back line and really didn't progress the ball. Didn't let Bruno Fernandes do what he does. And I think that really, really hurt them. And they got towards that a little bit and working together a little bit better. And you see what they did against Uzbekistan 5-0. Ronaldo got a break even. Like I I think this Portugal team is going to be very, very hard to beat if they keep picking up steam like this. So I think Portugal is going to win the group, and I think Congo is going to move into the top eight third place teams after beating Uzbekistan.
I saw a
I
lot of
really do think they
discourse.
can do that.
I saw a lot of discourse online about Cristiano Ronaldo's involvement in game one, intercepting passes that were theoretically intended for other teammates and stuff of
Mhm.
that nature, not necessarily being a team player. And I saw people talking about how, of course, Ronaldo was not going to have a good game after Messi scored his hat trick. He was going to be chasing that success. Do
Mhm.
you think that Ronaldo having a starting role on this team is a negative for Portugal's success going into the rest of this tournament?
I don't know. It's so hard to think about that because I mean he's one of the greatest players of all time. I personally he's not my greatest player of all time in my opinion,
He's definitely
right?
up there. That is an
But
irrefutable
but
fact.
that's an
Like,
irrefutable fact. Yeah, he is one of the greatest players of all time, and he's one of the greatest finishers of all time, right? Like he's one of the greatest strikers
yeah, when it
and
comes to just
left right
athlete
wingers.
on the soccer field, like,
Absolutely, that too. Like, yeah, he is a great athlete. He's one of the hardest workers of all time. But I mean, he's taken a couple steps back. He doesn't defend like I mean, he never really did, but he doesn't defend like modern strikers do. He doesn't uh morph to what the game has turned into. And I think that can hurt Portugal a lot. And I think at one point in the World Cup in 2022, Gonçalo Ramos got subbed on and scored a hat trick as he got subbed on, right? Like he played 40 minutes as he got subbed on for Ronaldo and scored a hat trick. And I think Gonçalo Ramos can get that form back if you let him. But at this point, Ronaldo's played the games. I'd say you just got to let it ride because he's going to score some goals here and there. But like you said, with the intercepting passes that weren't meant for him, there was a cross coming into the box in game one that was going for Bruno Fernandes, and he shoved Bruno out of the way to get onto the end of that, and he missed.
mm,
So there that large ego that you have to deal with is certainly a factor, and I think that can bite them in the butt at some point. I think it's going to hurt them a lot, and I just hope Roberto Martinez can find a solution to that, whether it's getting Ronaldo to play more like a team player or not playing Ronaldo. Sad to
yeah, I
say,
believe.
I love the guy. I'm a fan of Ronaldo. Like I'm a Man U fan, right? Like I hate to say that, but it's a harsh truth.
I believe that Ronaldo, he's on his own personal quest to be the first to 1,000 goals for club and country.
Yep.
And as you were talking about the selfish play in game one, I feel like it's kind of holding Portugal back a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the solution to that is, like you said, bench him and just sub him on in the 65th minute or something like that. Just that, like, he's definitely a good player, one of the best in the world, even currently in his current 41-year-old form. Like, he's he's Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, he's obviously a very skilled player, but for a full 90 minutes, I feel like it's unrealistic to try and play Cristiano Ronaldo for 90 minutes and also expect to win a World Cup for your country. And if I'm Ronaldo, I understand that time is ticking for that race to 1,000 goals. But I mean, you gotta value Portugal's first World Cup. championship more than you value a personal achievement like 1,000 goals. Like I feel like that is that's no question in my mind. But again, I'm not Ronaldo,
In
so
your mind, yeah, exactly. You aren't Ronaldo, and
yeah,
I think that he cares more about his personal achievements than Portugal's achievements, right? I think I mean having him like Neymar subbing him on for the last 30 minutes as a super sub could do so much good. If you're down a goal, having him and Gonçalo Ramos playing off of each other as strikers could be great. Like could be amazing, and having him fresh come on in the 65th minute or 70th minute or something like that could be absolutely amazing. And he could score 2 goals if he came on like that. But then he would start the next game if he does something like that because it's Ronaldo. You can't
that's
sit
the
him
nature
after
of
he
the
scores
game.
2 goal,
Exactly.
right? But I mean, yeah, I think he would do so much better as a super sub for the team. I just don't know if they're going to do that because he's done so much for them, winning the Euros in 2016, and he's done so much for them as a country. All the players currently idolize him because they grew up watching him. All of his teammates grew up
Exactly.
watching him. So I just don't know if they'll do that. I don't think Roberto Martinez will sit him because maybe that hurts the pride of the team as well. But I definitely think that selfish play is gonna it's gonna bite them at some point, and I think they're gonna have to make a change.
Moving on to Group L, Panama plays England tomorrow. Croatia playing Ghana. Both England and Ghana have already advanced. Croatia fighting for one of those third place spots. Obviously, I assume you have England beating Panama at 5 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, dude, England might ride as a whole if they don't win that game by 3, 4. You know,
The entire
like
country.
yeah, like the entire dude. Scotland might revolt for them as well. I don't even know. Like if they don't win that game by a lot, that's gonna be a travesty, and Tuchel's head might be in danger.
Now, Croatia fighting for that third place spot. If they were to achieve that if they were to achieve that berth into the round of 32, I know that they're kind of an older squad at this point. Do you have faith in them to do well this tournament outside of the round of 32?
Not really. I don't kind of the same worry that you had with Messi throughout this tournament, dying down a little bit and getting tired and slowing down. I mean, an old team like that that's still relying on a 40-year-old, if I'm not mistaken, Luka Modric as their driving
Yeah, I believe he's
engine for
40.
the entire game. It's just not healthy. It's I mean, it's not healthy for Argentina to rely on Messi, but Messi's Messi.
Yeah.
Right? So,
I
but
did Google it.
but
Messi is in fact 39. You were correct. He turned 39 4 days ago. So,
yeah, okay. Yeah. I
yeah.
thought yeah. Yeah, I saw something about that. Julian Alvarez wrote him a letter and
Yeah.
posted it online. But
39-year-old Messi is better than 40-year-old Modric.
yeah, I mean, pick an age, any age, and he's better than Modric. I'm sorry, I love Modric too, but it's just true. And relying on that team, it, I wouldn't bet on them. It's going to be hard for them to win games here on out, and relying on that such an old team like that, it just can't do it.
Yep. Well, that wraps up the group stage. Going into bracket play, our little round of 32 preview. Germany is facing off against Paraguay. Paraguay, one of those third place teams, along with Sweden, who are facing off in the first round against Germany and France, two heavy hitters in this tournament. We have Germany beating Paraguay by 50.
Dude, I hope. Yeah, I mean, geez, yeah, Paraguay is a kind of a disgrace to the game, to say the least, with how they play and how they act. I just hope their physicality isn't too much for Germany, kind of like Ecuador was. But I think I'd be surprised if Paraguay could take this even into extra time. I think the quality of Germany will just overshine. I think Musiala and Wirtz and Nemecha and hopefully um, uh, their striker on the bench, number 27. I can't remember his name for the life of me right now. Uh, I just hope that he starts number 26 and that their midfield is some of the best at breaking down a low block. You know, bar Dani Olmo on Spain. I'd
Mm.
say Musiala is probably the next best. Um, so I definitely think this Germany team can get it done. I just hope Neuer doesn't cost them any chances like he did in the last game. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely think Germany will get through.
And France, same thing with Sweden. Sweden's, in my opinion, better than Paraguay, but I feel like France is still gonna beat them pretty heavily.
Yeah, Sweden's better than Paraguay, but France is better than Germany. I mean,
Yep.
Sweden's probably going to get a couple. Like Isak and Gyökeres might score one each, right? Might assist each other. They're two insanely good players in their own rights. But I mean, that France attack's just going to shine through and absolutely destroy, like they normally do. I mean, I could see this game being like 5-2, 5-3, or something like that. It could be crazy, but you never know. Like it's a World Cup. But
Exactly.
I think France gonna win by a couple probably.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty easy assumption to make. South Africa facing off against Canada, and Canada, as far as the trinity of host nations, Canada, USA, and Mexico, has definitely been the weakest of the three. Do you think that this will be a pretty evenly matched game, or do you have a pretty quick favorite here?
I actually don't have a pretty quick favorite. But there is a very big thing that this whole match hinges on, and that's how is Alphonso Davies. I have no clue if he's gonna start or not. I have no clue if he's in form, if he's doing well. But he is probably the best Canadian player of all time. Yeah, and I think if he plays and he plays well, Canada's going to be hard to beat. They're going to be able to score goals a lot more than they have been this tournament. Even though I say that as they scored six on Qatar, but Qatar also had
Well, nine
t
Qatari players. Like,
yeah, they scored six on nine
yeah,
guys, right? But I think
I'd hope
Alphonso
that a high school
Davies.
team would be able to beat nine players of any skill level.
Yeah, yeah, I just think he opens up the game for them. He's good defensively. He's not great, but he's pretty good defensively, and he's one of the best attacking outside backs in the world. So I think they're probably gonna put him on the left wing, instead of outside back, and just let him do him, let him create. And if they do that, I see them winning. But that's if he plays. I would be hard pressed to see them winning otherwise, or you know. I think South Africa's got a really good chance. They've got a good team. Uh, let's just hope they don't go down to nine guys like they did against Mexico.
Yep.
You know,
And I mean, get losing in the round of 32 now with the expanded tournament is the equivalent of getting grouped back in 2022 in previous editions of the tournament. If you're a host country, is that disappointing to see? Even if it is a relatively weaker soccer nation like Canada?
yeah, I think Canada's really gonna think that they can win this game, and I believe they can too. Even without Alphonso Davies, I think it's a coin toss without Alphonso Davies. But Alphonso Davies would definitely make it like 60, or 65-35 in their favor. Um, but yeah, it would be disappointing, and I don't even know if it's quite like getting grouped. But it kind of is because it's a lot easier to get out of your group now. So
Yeah.
I see what you're saying with that. Um,
It's just definitely an early elimination for a host nation.
yeah, I definitely think they'll be disappointed, but I think they can get past this match.
And the next match, you're looking at Netherlands versus Morocco, which are viewed by many as like the premier round of 32 matchup. Both of these teams are very good. Um, how unlucky is this draw for both of these countries? I mean, I feel like
Yes.
this very good soccer teams going up, and then you have like the U.S. playing Bosnia, and it's like it's if you're a Dutch or Moroccan fan, you're looking at how that tournament, uh, how the bracket qualification shook out, and you're like, well, that's a little annoying. Like, how upset are you as a fan of either of those teams?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at some matches like Switzerland, Iran is very likely.
Mm,
Australia, Egypt is, I believe, a confirmed match. Mexico, Scotland's a possibility, although it's probably going to be Ecuador in that spot.
mm.
Um, so, and like you said, U.S. Bosnia, right? I think this is massively unlucky for both of these fan bases. And Netherlands and Morocco are both just such good teams. And Morocco's had so much development, even from their 2022 World Cup run, right? They've become much more of a ball playing team, possessive, really trying to control the game on both sides of the ball, when they have it and when they don't have it. They've really gotten a lot better in a lot of ways, but they're running into a Netherlands team here who's one of the best teams in the world, and they're gonna have a hard time beating this Netherlands team, and vice versa. It's so unlucky for both these teams, and it's kind of sad seeing these two teams having to face off against each other already.
I would agree. It definitely seems like one of those later round matchups that would be exciting to watch. But I mean, I guess if you're a neutral fan, it is exciting to have such a premier matchup so early. And that next match, we're looking at the runner-up of Group K versus the runner-up of Group L, which would be Colombia or Portugal. The loser of that game would be the runner-up of Group K, or the for Group L, the winner of Ghana versus Croatia, or in event of a draw, Ghana would advance to be the runner-up of Group L. Most likely looking like Colombia versus Croatia, as our own predictions of that would be. If Colombia or Croatia play each other, I feel like that's another relatively good match as far as equal standing. Um, who would you have in that hypothetical matchup of Colombia versus Croatia?
Yeah, this is why I was saying it's tough to rely on a 40-year-old Modric and an old Croatian team in general because
Yeah,
this Colombia team is hot. They're really good. Yeah, I think it's going to be really, really, really hard for them to win. I see
yeah. Colombia,
Colombia getting through.
they made the Copa America final 2 years ago. They're one of those, as far as South American teams go, upper echelon of international teams. Definitely not a team you're excited to face as a Croatian fan.
Not at all. This Colombia team, I mean, they've got a chance to beat Portugal. So we might be talking about Portugal versus Croatia, right? I definitely think that Colombia can even beat Portugal. I just think it's going to be difficult for them to do so. So I would see it being Colombia versus Croatia, and I think this Colombia team's gonna win. I think they're just gonna outpace and out physical Croatia.
Croatia versus Portugal would be interesting. You got 41-year-old Ronaldo versus 40-year-old Modric. That'd be a
Old
little retirement,
teammates.
a little retirement home on the pitch.
Yep.
Next match, you're looking at Spain versus the runner-up of Group J, which is looking
hmm
like either Algeria or Austria, depending on how tomorrow's matches shake out. I mean, regardless of if it's Algeria or Austria, that's a second place team in Group J versus Spain, the winner of their group. And again, one of the favorites to win the tournament. I feel like we both have Spain winning pretty heavily here.
Yeah. I mean, so with this Algeria-Austria game, Austria is sitting in second right now. They have the same amount of points. So if they tie, Austria is still going to be runner-up. If Austria wins, obviously they're still going to be runner-up.
Head to head.
Um, yeah. Uh, it doesn't matter. It's you're running into a buzzsaw here. Like
Yeah,
you
it's Spain.
you're running into one of the great teams in this tournament with such good talent. And hopefully Nico Williams can get back on the field. I saw him playing a little bit today. He came on as a sub, and hopefully Lamine Yamal can still play. And yeah, hopefully Oyarzabal keeps it in form from his, I want to say, 3 goal, 2 assists, or some ridiculous thing he had against um Saudi Arabia, I think it was. Yeah, but Spain's just gonna win. And I feel really bad for the third place team in Group J as well. If the third place team ends up advancing, I think they're gonna run into a buzzsaw and somebody else. Actually, I think I'm looking at your thing here and it says Belgium. So Belgium or Spain, elimination or elimination.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Just not exactly. This is not the round of 32. Like that first round is a lot of teams. So we're running through a lot of matches right now, and it's just
yeah.
you're fighting right now for that tomorrow, like that last spot, get into the round of 32 at the last minute, that last match day of the last day of the last match day, and it's just you're fighting to advance to know you're going to get squashed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
You're just fighting to give yourself a chance. You're just living to fight another day, you know?
And I believe that they do get a bonus for advancing to the round of 32, even if they do lose in the first round. It's just like the soccer federations, they'll get a payout from FIFA. So
Yeah, and
fighting
the
for at least some fundraising for your
mhm.
your country's FA.
Yeah, and the players it increases the amount of money that the players get too. But I mean, for a team like Austria, they have some quality players there that play in some
Yeah,
pretty big leagues. I'm sure that prize money would be chump change, but to some of the Algerian players, I'm sure that would be a lot of money if they manage to get through. But as for this game, I think it's going to end up being Spain versus Austria, and I don't see anybody but Spain getting through that.
yeah. Now moving on to the next game that you and I assume are both the most excited for in this round of 32 matchup. You got the United States versus Bosnia. The United States, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe have only won one knockout game in World Cup history. They're with the new expanded format, winning a knockout game is technically, if you want to argue, easier than ever. And I feel like that is the expectation for the U.S. for this game. I mean, we're coming off a 2-1 loss to Turkey, but is there any adjustments that should be made by USA head coach Mauricio Pochettino, or can this week's loss be chalked up to playing what was essentially the USA B team?
Well, to touch on the point of the expectation for the U.S. national team first. Yeah, our expectation is always the round of 16. Now, you add another round, the expectation's still going to get to the round of 16.
Exactly.
It's just
Yeah.
one more game to get through. And I'm not too sure on the how many knockout wins we have because I believe in 1930 we got third place, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, also
I'm
smaller
sure.
tournament, so I'm not 100% sure how that
Yeah,
worked.
yeah,
Like England didn't even go to that World Cup because they considered it lesser competition. Like that's
yeah. Yeah, right. So I don't as for the number of World Cup knockout wins, I don't care. It doesn't really matter at this
yeah,
point.
ancient
Um,
history.
yeah, but this US team, their expectations at least going to get to the round of 16. That's what it's always been. Get
That's
out of the
bare
group,
minimum.
get to the round of 16.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think even for this year, I think a lot of people are thinking that we can have a run at it. And I don't think it's too
100%.
far-fetched, right? On home soil, that can do a lot for you. That really does change a lot. And Pochettino was speaking to that. I mean, it's incredible. It brought him to tears how passionate the US has been and how incredible the fan show out has been. And now for can this week's loss be chalked up to what was essentially playing the USB team? Absolutely. Like watching watching those guys out there, a lot of guys were talking about how the US team was pretty deep this year. I just didn't see that at all. I
100%.
I
I
felt
agree.
like a lot of the players that were out there, whether it was Tim Weah or I mean Sebastian Berhalter, um, Miles McKenzie or Miles Robinson, and then Mark McKenzie, I think are their names
Yes.
on defense. Just really, really, really difficult game to watch in terms of quality. I think Pochettino could have took a U12 team out there and probably played just as good. I think it was a really tough watch, really disappointing for a third game, but I think it's just something to completely disregard. Balogun wasn't out there. Tillman was only out there for 30 minutes.
Ballistic about
Pulisic
the
was
same,
only
about
out,
30 minutes.
yeah, probably 30 minutes, maybe. Yeah. I just think it's something to completely look past and time for us to reminisce on the first two games of the tournament and hope we get back to playing like that with our full starting 11. Yellow cards wiped, all clean slate, and just get ready to go, play a tough team in Bosnia and get through to the round of 16.
Yeah, looking at the rest of the round of 32, you got Belgium versus South Korea, Senegal, or Austria, Algeria. This is getting to the edge of the bracket where we're not entirely sure exactly. Like it's a lot of math to figure out who is playing who, but Algeria and Austria on the final match day, and if Austria wins, they will clinch second place in Group G, face Australia in the round of 32, and Algeria would face, I believe, Belgium. I'm not 100% sure. This is really complicated, but whoever Belgium ends up facing, we have confidence that they're winning, as we discussed
Unless it's
earlier.
Senegal, you have like you said,
Yeah.
South Korea, Senegal, Austria, Algeria. The only team that I'd worry about there is Senegal. Senegal's a really good team, a lot of talent and a lot of experience too. Between Sadio Mane, Edouard Mendy in goal, and Kalidou Koulibaly, who's on the bench for this last game, which I couldn't believe. Like he in my mind has been. He used to be one of the best center backs in Europe, and seeing him on the bench for this game was crazy. I know he made one mistake or maybe two in the last game or two, uh, albeit bad ones. But I mean, that experience just you don't just throw that experience away. And I think they're going to get back to starting him um, because I don't necessarily think their center backs did a great job today. They just played against an Iraq team with 10 guys for 75 minutes. Um,
I mean, I
so a
agree.
team.
Senegal's. definitely a team to watch out for. I mean,
A team
heard
like that
some,
can be pretty scary.
yeah, I've heard some dudes in Liverpool say he's the greatest player in the world. So,
Chris, why are you laughing for? Yeah, no, I definitely think Sadio Mane, Ismaila Sarr, and Nicholas Jackson off the bench, they can do damage in the attack. And yeah, I definitely think they're a team to watch out for, but I do think this Belgium team is likely going to beat whoever they play, even if it is Senegal. But
mm,
this Belgium team's had expectations on them forever. They're in the middle of a transition between generations. I think they're better than I thought they were going to be 4 years ago. Um, but yeah, I do think they can get through this game.
100%. Brazil facing off against Japan for the next match. Are we saying Brazil's gonna win this, or is this a pretty tough match? Japan's been playing well in this tournament.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say Brazil is gonna get through this match because I can't bring myself to say Japan, although I really, really want to. This Japan team is so good and it is so underrated. Everybody always forgets about the Japanese. They are such a good team. They have so much quality through and through. They have the best goalkeeper that they've ever had, and I can't think of his name.
I know his last name's
Uh,
Suzuki. I forget what his first
Yes,
name is.
yes, yes.
Zion Suzuki, I
Zion
believe.
Suzuki,
Yeah,
Zion Suzuki, the best Japanese goalkeeper
I believe he's
ever,
American
probably.
born, so with our goalkeeper troubles is a little frustrating to see. But
I think he was born in New York and immediately moved to Japan. I can't blame him for playing
okay,
for the
and I
Japanese
mean
national team.
Balogun, same thing. But
Okay, Balogun's playing for the US because Harry Kane is on the English. Okay.
okay, yeah, true.
There's levels.
I know,
Like,
I
let's be
know.
real. But yeah, this Japanese team is really good. You know, they have quality through and through, and they're such a nice team. Super talented, super concise, compact, and really, really good playing together. The one thing that they're missing is, what the US missed for years. They're missing that selfish out and out striker, right? They're missing
Mhm.
that Balogun. They're missing that Holland. They're missing, you know, I don't think Japan's going to produce a Holland, but
That type of player,
they're
like
missing that type
the
of player
finishing touch.
to really get on the end of those build-ups and crosses and whatnot. And I think that's going to come to bite them. But I don't know. They've been scoring some goals this tournament, so they could put a really, really tough game up against Brazil. And this could be a decently scoring game, like 3-2, where Brazil gets through. I think they will. I think if Vinny continues his form, Cunha continues his form, and Endrick could come on and get the game-winning goal here, like he has done several times this year for Brazil. It's just, is Ancelotti gonna let him do that?
Mhm.
I think I think if Ancelotti uses Endrick, I would be shocked if Brazil loses this game. But
I
it is Japan, so you always have to watch out.
exactly. Japan just seems like one of those like they do play like a team. Like they're very
hmm That yeah,
well-rounded, except for
that's
that
how
striker position.
that's how their development system works. I mean, the reason why they have trouble finding an out and out number nine, an out and out striker, is because they don't develop strikers. They don't develop that selfish guy. They don't
Mhm.
develop that guy with an ego like Ronaldo. They build their teams based on being a team, and
I
it
mean, I see
it
that a
can
lot in Japanese
can bite
baseball
them.
as well. Like
Exactly.
sacrifice bunts. Like,
Exactly, dude. They
mhm.
they are the epitome of a team, and sometimes it's all right to have that selfish guy up top, and Japan doesn't have that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the biggest professional athletes in the world have a little bit of like psychopath energy.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
you
you're
need to
definitely right.
succeed at that level.
Yeah.
But we got Norway facing off against the Ivory Coast. The Ivory Coast, as far as the smaller nations go, definitely one of the better teams in the
hmm
world. And Norway, again, they haven't been to the World Cup recently. This is their first World Cup.
Since it's 98.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely not internationally as renowned recently as Ivory Coast, I would argue.
hmm
But with Holland on the team, it's hard to discount Norway. Who do you have taking this matchup? I feel like it's an interesting comparison between the two
It,
teams.
it really is. Ivory Coast has produced talent for a long time, from Didier Drogba, you know, to current day with guys like Ahmad who are coming up at Man United. And Yan Diomande, what a brilliant player. Talking about
Mm.
a guy that's lived in the U.S. for a while. I haven't met him, but I've played in a pickup game against him before, and he's one of the best players I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I say all that to say, I'm sorry, but I don't see Norway not winning this game.
Yeah.
I, Ivory Coast is such a good team, but it's going to be hard to outscore Norway with that big 6'5" Viking up top.
Yeah. I mean, he's just Holland, it's, I mean, people talk about how America would dominate in soccer if our best athletes committed to playing soccer instead of football, basketball, baseball growing up. And I don't necessarily agree with that argument, but like when you have, if you're gonna call him like almost like a wide receiver, cornerback type build with the athleticism, the
He's a
speed
tight end.
of, yeah, exactly, like just a big
He's Calvin
dude.
Johnson actually.
Yeah, it's just
He's Megatron. He's a six
exactly.
foot five, 220 pound, ridiculously fast guy that you just throw up top and say, "Hey, we're gonna give you the ball 20, 30 times a game.
I need
Go
you to
get
hit
us a
it
couple goals."
80 miles an hour into the back of the net. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and soccer is definitely not one of those sports where you can get by on raw athleticism. I mean, a lot of people will tell you Messi's the GOAT. He's 5'7". He's not a particular looking wise athletic human, but Holland is just people like talk about like Viking Terminator. Like
hmm
at the beginning of the show said that he was built in a lab. It's
Yeah.
because when you have a guy like that on the field, he's the definition of a difference maker. And
Yeah.
Norway, who does, I mean, they definitely have some guys, but they don't necessarily have 11 guys. And Holland's ability to elevate the rest of the team is, I feel like, a huge difference maker for this match against the Ivory Coast.
Yeah, just one last point, sorry, but for this game, one of their the biggest thing is Ryerson is going to be out, I believe. He got injured in their second group game, and he is absolutely massive. I would say he's just as important as Odegaard, in
Mm.
that build-up play, and he's one of the best assist makers in the entire world. I believe he was like third or second in Europe behind just Bruno Fernandes. Like he is an
Yeah.
insane assist creator, and they're going to be without him. So, if their offense stalls a little bit, Sorloth and Holland don't end up getting the ball, that could be a very big reason as to why. And if they don't win, that's going to be why.
Does Holland, in your opinion, have the like technical ability to be able to still score goals without one of the best feeders in Europe?
It's hard to say that because everywhere you look, everywhere he's played with those guys, whether it was Dortmund with the young Jude Bellingham,
Mm,
and a good midfield. He had Jadon Sancho there too, out on the wing, providing some
mm,
balls to him. And Man City, De Bruyne and what a great team they have even still to this day. Ryan Cherky now, speaking of the French depth
yeah.
earlier, Ryan Cherky's on the bench.
Yeah.
Uh, pisses me off. But yeah, do I believe he has the technical ability to? Yeah. They can get him with backups. They can get him the ball outside the box and he can score
Yeah.
from there. But that's just not his bread and butter.
Yeah. All right, we got Mexico facing off against either Scotland or Ecuador. Looking like Ecuador is going to be the most likely scenario here. Do we have Mexico beating Ecuador? I know obviously we've talked earlier about that Ecuadorian defense with their midfield and especially the back. Um, and Mexico, I mean, they're 3-0. I don't believe, yeah, as I open the show, they have not allowed a goal in
hmm
this tournament in Group A. Um, that'll be an exciting match to watch. Or do you have a bona fide, like, do you have a clear winner here in Mexico versus Ecuador?
Not a clear winner at all.
Yeah,
Not at all. Dude, this Ecuador team, like I said, they're insane. Caicedo,
very
Pacho
defensively
Ordonez,
sound.
so good. I like this game. I think it's going to be 1-1-0 or 2-1 at the max, right?
Mm,
If I had to pick somebody, I'm going to pick Ecuador. And I hate to say that because Mexico's got such a big advantage playing at home, but Ecuador's going to have some fans there too. They're not going to be alone. Um, I'm going to say Ecuador's going to win, but I'm not too confident in that.
yeah. All right, moving on to Group L. The Group L winner, most likely England, will face off against either Congo, Algeria, Australia, or not Australia, excuse me, Austria, or Senegal. I believe we have England winning against any of those countries. Senegal would give them the most trouble.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be England. Reece James got hurt. one of the best right backs in the world when he's healthy, but there's a very big key there when he's healthy. I think we're
Mm.
shocked that we got 2 games out of him. Um, but yeah, I think it would be massive disappointment if England doesn't win this game.
All right, you got Argentina versus the Cinderella of the World Cup so far, Cabo Verde. I mean, as we said earlier, it's been a great run for Cabo Verde. I think everyone in the world who has eyeballs and a functioning brain would say this is the end of the Cinderella run for them, for better or for worse.
It's what people were saying about Morocco in 2022 when they had to play Spain and when they had to play Netherlands, I think, and whoever they did play. But yeah, I see the it's coming to an end.
Yeah, I mean,
Argentina's
it's
gonna win 3-0, something like that.
at minimum.
Damn, I
And you
was trying to
got,
be nice, dude.
yeah,
Come
I
on.
mean, the population of 500,000 people. Like that is, I think, the same as like Brevard County. Um, you got Australia versus Egypt. That'll be another good match. I mean, Egypt, obviously, Mo Salah, one of the best players in the world at the moment, but and Australia doesn't necessarily have that sort of star power. But the rest of Egypt's roster is relatively a steep drop off from their best two, three guys. Do you think this will be a relatively even match?
Um, yeah, I think Egypt's gonna win. I don't really see them having too much trouble with this. To touch on Mo Salah, I mean, he's had a bad year. He's been declining, and he's only 34, which is kind of surprising to see. Um, but I think it's kind of hard um seeing seeing that happen to them, and especially before I think what most people would have thought would happen to Mo Salah. But yeah, I still think Egypt's gonna get through with guys like Marmoush leading in the attack, especially after he gets subbed in, and
He came on as a late sub in the
yeah, in the
last match of the
game.
group.
Yeah, yeah. So I see them getting through. I think Egypt's or Australia's gonna have a really hard time scoring, but Egypt's gonna have a hard time scoring on Australia too. They got a big, big physical team, and I mean, Egypt's probably gonna win 1-0, or it might go to extra time and penalties. It could
Yeah, I
be
mean,
just that slow of a game.
I saw in Australia's match against the US, it was very physical, chippy, almost like Australia was not necessarily happy with the way that the US was playing, and vice versa. A couple of yellow cards, a little like as I said, chippy game. Australia, they
Yeah.
play with some passion and very physical. Switzerland facing off against either Iran or the third place winner of Group J, looking at Algeria or Austria. Switzerland has been a relatively sound team. I mean, they drew against Qatar, which is the biggest black mark on their record so far. But other than that, do you have the third place winner of Group G, Iran, or Algeria, Austria, giving Switzerland trouble?
Um, Seeing as I don't think it's likely that group gets a third place team coming out, because Austria is probably gonna beat Algeria.
Mm,
Um, I do see this game being Switzerland versus Iran.
mm,
And I think that's going to be really hard for Iran to win. Switzerland's got some quality, and quite a bit of it. And Manzambi is on a roll. Manzambi's playing really well. And he's going to be hard to stop in the attack, as well as, they got some other guys up top that's really, really dangerous. But, the most important guy is Granit Xhaka. That he's the captain of their team. He's playing pretty good this tournament.
mm.
And I think they can get through this game. And to touch on that black mark that they have that you said and tying Qatar, like I said earlier, it's really not a quality problem from them this year. They're not a bad team. They're definitely not the worst team in this tournament. They just got so many cards, and they didn't get a card against Switzerland. And I think
Yeah.
Switzerland just got a little flustered, I guess, maybe by the
Mm.
Qatari defense and couldn't quite get into a groove, and that's why they tied that game. But I think
So
Switzerland's been
Switzerland with a
playing a
little
lot
bit,
better.
Switzerland with an off night, and Qatar finally playing a clean game. It's just kind of a perfect storm for what seemed to
Yeah,
be,
first one of the first couple games of the tournament, I think it was. I think it was on the second day, maybe
yeah.
first or second day. Um, yeah, and I just think they were getting into a flow, or they weren't quite into the flow yet, and now I think Switzerland's picked
If
up
I
some
recall
steam.
correctly, Qatar lost all three of their group stage games in 2022. So that draw against Switzerland is their one and only World Cup point in nation
Yep.
history.
hmm
So good for Qatar, I suppose, for those players.
Improvement on 0 points.
Exactly. Yeah, 1 point is better than none. And then final match that we're going to preview tonight, Group K winner. We agreed Portugal or it's going to be Portugal or Colombia, and we agreed Portugal's most likely going to win that match tomorrow. And
Yep.
then they're going to play against the third place from either Group E, I, or L, looking at Ecuador, Senegal, or either Croatia or Ghana. Um, Again, I think it's what we've been saying about any team that's about to face a third place team. We could Portugal or Colombia would most likely win against any of these teams, except Senegal would give them some trouble. Ecuador is also going to probably give either of those teams trouble.
I think Ecuador's the best out of those teams, and really, to be honest, it's kind of a sucky pull from the Group K winner. They're going to play a tough team no matter who ends up coming through. Like I
Mhm.
said, I mean, Croatia's getting old, yeah, still a tough team, but I see that as a win for them and a win against Ghana. But that Ghana team is so good defensively, and like Declan Rice said, they get 12 men behind that ball, and it is so hard to score on them. But yeah, any one of those teams can put up a really good fight against Portugal. They gotta be careful because they can lose this game if they don't play well.
All right, moving on to our closing statements. What defines success for the United States at this tournament? In post-game media availability after the loss to Turkey, Coach Pochettino has made it known that despite the U.S. men's national team's historic start to this edition of the World Cup, his own definition of making history for the U.S. national team is to win the whole thing. That is his definition of historic at this stage. How realistic of an expectation is that, and how far does the U.S. have to go to not consider this year a failure?
Yeah, I mean, so just to quickly, you looked at if you look at Tiger Woods back in '97 when he was getting on the PGA Tour, an interviewer asked him, what would make you happy finishing in your first tournament? And he said he was there to win, right? And the interviewer got really mad at him for absolutely no reason. Because if you're gonna go there to win. You're not gonna go
Exactly.
there to lose. You're not gonna go there to get second place, third place, fourth place, right? This US team is there to win. They want to win. They don't want to get second place. They don't want to get third. They're here
Mhm.
on home soil with likely the best squad they've ever had against some of the toughest competition that they've ever gonna have. And they're looking to win this tournament. Nobody comes here to just lose, right? So I think Pochettino's right. Yeah, making history would be to win the whole tournament. We've never done it before. It would be one of the greatest achievements in American sports history.
You could argue
Um,
international sports history. I mean, is this, I was going
yeah,
to quickly interject, is this an advantage of having a non-American as the head coach? I mean, I feel like a lot of people who have been I mean, I'm going to say born and raised through the U.S. soccer system have come to expect the U.S. to not be a World Cup winning team, and that, like you said, making the round of 16 is a bare minimum, but semis would still be an insane finish for what feels like a lot of the U.S. soccer culture. And
mhm.
so, does Pochettino bring a outsider perspective that kind of raises the bar for the U.S. in a way that like Greg Berhalter or another American coach would not have?
Absolutely. I think I said something about that with Morocco too. Adding
Mm.
expectation can be a great thing because it forces the players to do something that they otherwise would have not been able to do. I think the expectation that Poch puts on this team of yeah, why can't we go win this game? Or why can't we go win this World Cup? Like, let's go win it. I think that's going to push this team to new heights, and we might end up getting a really difficult. I think we have to play Spain in the quarterfinals, right? So that's going to be a really hard game to get by. And uh, we've beaten Spain before with worse team when they had a better team. Arguably, we beat them 2-0. Thank you, Clint Dempsey, for that. But
Yeah.
I think Pochettino absolutely has brought so much to this U.S. Soccer Federation, and that's why we just offered him a 4-year deal
Mhm.
to come coach this team again in another World Cup already, which I think a little early, but I like the idea behind it. But Pochettino brings so much more, including the expectation, obviously, but the experience is chief among all. Like he's just such a good coach, and his the way that he coaches is built for tournaments. It's such a suffocating style of play, like what you saw against Paraguay, and yeah, I think he brings so much to this soccer team.
So would you agree with Pochettino that anything short of winning the World Cup is a failure?
Yeah, you come to win. Like I said earlier, you show up to win. Yeah, it'll be nice if we make the quarters. It'll be nice if we make the semis. It'll be amazing if we make the semis. But you're here to win.
Yeah.
And that's what the US team has been lacking is nobody expects them to win. So then if they
And
lose,
that's what I'm saying is
they're
that when you
okay
bring
with it.
in, yeah, when you bring in a foreign-born coach who, I mean, he's from Argentina, he's played for the Argentinian national team, he has a championship expectation, and I feel like a lot of the U.S. coaches don't necessarily have that drive or expectation, and
Yeah.
bringing in, I mean, I know it's kind of a faux pas, like it's a huge thing that no team has ever won the World Cup with a foreign coach, that's like different than the team's nationality. But the U.S. is a melting pot. Why not have the U.S. be the first country? I think that'd be very fitting
Yeah, I
for
think
the
that would be
international stage.
yeah, I think you're 100% right. That would be such a fitting thing for the US team to be the first to win with a foreign coach, like you said.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, that would be the most US thing ever. Uh, and I think it can happen. Why can't it? Right?
yeah, that'd be a perfect representation of the U.S. on the international stage.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, other than the U.S., who would you say is your favorite to win the whole thing? I mean, Argentina is looking to run it back. France is looking to make a late run. Spain, one of the favorites as well. Amongst those three, France, Spain, and Argentina, who is your favorite to win the whole thing?
I touched on it earlier. It's just France, man.
Yeah.
Insane. Argentina, love them. Great talent. A little bit of an aging team. They don't have
Mhm.
talent or some of the talent that they used to have. And like Di Maria, Otamendi's getting old. Romero's not what he was in 2022. Um, right. So I think they're kind of aging out, and I'd be surprised to see them win. Spain might not be their time yet, right? They're so good. Dealing with some injuries in Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal, although I think they're getting back to playing. And they might find a groove and they might win, but this French team is one of the best teams I've ever seen. And there's quality all around. And they have probably three of the five best players in the world on their team. And yeah, France is the team to beat.
Portugal is rated as the best team in the tournament to never have won the World Cup as the favorite. Or that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? They are the favorite of the teams who have never won the World Cup. Would
Yeah,
you argue that this is their closest that they will get in the last couple of years? Like, is this their best shot?
yeah. And I think it will be for a couple of years too, because they don't necessarily have a talent to come behind Ronaldo in the attack.
Mhm.
They don't have that attacking talent coming up. I know Pedro Neto at Chelsea is getting some shouts, but like nobody can fill the gap that Ronaldo left, right? So they're gonna have to fill that gap in other ways, but maybe Vitinha and João Neves can grow into this midfield and kind of remind us of an early 2010s Spain midfield. But Bruno Fernandes is eventually gonna age out, and it'll just be those two with whoever ends up replacing Bruno. But I think with Bruno at peak powers, at beating the Premier League assist record this year, and Vitinha and João Neves playing at world class level, possibly being the three best midfielders in the world. I
Mhm.
think this is a really good chance for them to utilize their aging defense in João Cancelo and Ruben Dias. I think if they're gonna win one, it's probably gonna be this World Cup. But yeah, uh, I think they're gonna be hard pressed to win one for another couple cycles after
Yeah,
this.
I would agree. So bracket play starts June 28th, and the U.S. plays Bosnia July 1st. And that wraps up tonight's episode of the Graveyard Shift. For those in the Tallahassee area, remember to tune in to Tomahawk Talk every Monday night at 7 p.m., broadcasted on FM 89.7. Follow V89 Sports on Instagram and Twitter. Remember to subscribe to our new YouTube channel. I am Trey Pope here with special guest Jakob Parker. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Graveyard Shift.